Hey, sixth grade. So welcome to video number 2. And in this case, we're going to start talking about your 4 brainstorming ideas. And in this particular assignment, your job is to create a shape. We're not like drawing like designs on the car, fire or racing stripes or green clovers or yellow moons or anything like that. All you're doing is creating a shape. Now, in the previous video, we talked about streamlining. And how streamlining is a shape that has to cut through wind. It's all what aerodynamics is. Aerodynamics is just how a shape can cut through the wind. And your job is to create 4 different shapes. No 2 shapes can be the same. Now, a couple of things we need to talk about as far as our designs here. This here is the side view of the block of wood. That's why the shape looks as though it does. This is the top view of the block of wood, and that's why it's just a rectangular shape. So this is our top view. Come on, there we go. And we are not going to do the top view in this video. In fact, you are not allowed to do the top view yet on your homework. So you're just drawing 4 side view designs. And so that's what we're creating today. We're creating the side view, okay? That's a really awful S, I think, but you get the point. So here's our side view and here's our top view. And you're going to be creating that side view today, not the top view. So this one we are not doing, okay? Now, the block of wood. I've talked about the shape in our last video. I'm going to discuss a quick situation here with this one. The front of it is flat, and this flatness is not streamlined. Therefore, the wind can come across and hit this front and slow you down. Your goal is to be the fastest car in the class. That's your job. So you cannot have areas where the wind can get hit in any way whatsoever. So when it comes to the design of this car, at the tip, you need to be a point. Okay, that just has to be the case. Just for this particular assignment, you have to be at a point here. In the back, we've got this rectangular dark area. That is the CO2 cartridge hole that is in the car. And we need that hole. And I don't have any CO2 cartridges on me here, but a CO2 cartridge is very simple to understand. Actually, I might have one in my storage here. Let me see. I do. Look at that. Okay, so this is our CO2 cartridge. This is an 8-gram CO2 cartridge. That CO2 cartridge fits perfectly into the back of the car. And then we have a little part to our track that pops that, a little mechanism that pops that CO2 cartridge and creates a hole and releases the air. And when the air is released, it pushes the car down the track. Pretty simple to understand. But this CO2 cartridge, the hole for it, it can't be compromised in any way. In other words, you can't cut into the hole in any way. Because if this thing gets loose, it's going to shoot down the hallway at somewhere around like 200 miles an hour. And if it hits you at 200 miles an hour and it's made of metal, it's going to hurt you. And so I don't want you to get hurt. So you're not allowed to cut into this hole at all. So now there's 2 things that we're going to be concentrating on. One is the front. It's got to be to a point. And the back, you're not allowed to cut into that CO2 cartridge hole. So when you're designing the shape of your car, you have to make sure that this is inside the shape of your car. For example, I want to make a shape. I've accomplished 2 of those goals. 1, I created the point in the front. And 2, I made sure that my shape has the CO2 cartridge hole in it. I'm not really done with the shape yet. I'll probably do it a little bit more. And there is the actual total shape of my car. Now this fin here, we'll discuss when we get you guys in class. I'm not really worried about it, but what I'm asking for you to do is in these 4 shapes to be as creative as you possibly can. So I'm trying to be creative as well as streamlined. So the shape of the car, the wind should coast over this car. And if it does, we're good. If you make a design that is not very streamlined, it's not going to work out for you. For example, you shouldn't have any areas where the wind can get caught. Even that small little front part is not streamlined, and you cannot have something like that. Each one of these steps, the wind can hit those areas, and that is no good. This is not a streamlined shape, and we're looking for streamlined shapes. Let's talk about the design that I did. If you go the opposite direction with that fin, the wind will actually get caught right in here. Can you do this? There is a way. If you're going to do it, you're going to eventually have to tell me how this area can be streamlined when you're drawing it. So be aware, I am looking for creativity, but this isn't really streamlined. So going back to the original shape that I drew, again, point at the front, having the entire CO2 cartridge hole in the back. Now we're good. And the shape is done, but we are not done with our design. If you look at the worksheet you've been given, you can see how I grade you. And on the top, we'll tell you that you're graded on shape, you're graded on the streamlining of it, and you're graded on wheels, axles, bearings, and shading. So when we're talking about those items, let's discuss first streamlining, which we've done. We've created a shape that the wind can flow over. So once we get that, we can check that off. Second, we've got to do axle holes. And to give you an understanding of what an axle is, here is a finished car. There are tires that are held into the car, and you guys see this metal rod that goes in between. I have cut the shape of this car out so that you can see that there's a metal rod in there. That metal rod is an axle. And let me pull it out so that you can see the axle. There it is. And do you see how there's like a little tiny circle in here? That hole is an axle hole. Pretty simple, pretty basic. And because I need an axle hole, now I need to draw those axle holes. And I put my pen down somewhere. I can't find it. Great. Here it is. And I need to draw my axle holes. So you're going to want one in the front, and you're going to want one in the back. These axle holes can only be over the lowest part of the car. So notice that I put this one over this part of the car, which is low, and I didn't put one over where I've cut out on the bottom. You cannot put one here, because then it would not be on the lowest part of the car. You're not allowed to do that. You can only put them on where this is like the lowest part of the car here. That's where they can go. So you have one, streamlining, which we've done. Two, axle holes, which we've accomplished. And three, shading. What you're going to shade is you're going to shade out the area that is not part of the car. The part of this block of wood you're going to cut and throw in the garbage. And so you're going to shade that area out. And I'm going to try to do this with a bigger one. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Good. So all of this should be shaded out. Now what I'm looking for is good shading here. You can take the side of your pencil and you can shade this entire area out nice and easy with the side of your pencil. Very important to make sure that it is neat and that you have not shaded out the area of the car that you're going to keep. All of the area should be shaded out perfectly. This is one design. For homework, you need 4. No two shapes can look the same. And make sure that you follow these steps. One's got to be streamlined, got to have axle holes, and you got to shade correctly. Good luck. Go to work.